Welcome back. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. Joining us on NewsX, Prime Minister Modi is currently attending the third India-Nordic Summit in Oslo. As part of his ongoing five-nation diplomatic tour, the summit brings together the Prime Ministers of Norway, Sweden, Finland, Iceland and Denmark to deepen cooperation between India and the Nordic region. He's met with the leaders of various Nordic nations, including Denmark and Finland. The discussions have focused on expanding India's strategic engagement with Nordic nations across technology, renewable energy, defense, sustainability and trade. Ahead of the summit, Modi attended the India-Norway Business and Research Summit in Oslo, underscoring growing economic cooperation following the implementation of the India EFTA Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement. Well, Prime Minister Modi has held a meeting with the Prime Minister of Finland. The former has written now on X, delighted to meet the Prime Minister of Finland, Mr. Petteri Orpo. This year has witnessed extensive engagement as far as India and Finland are concerned. PM Orpo himself had come to India for the AI Impact Summit. Our meeting today is aimed at giving new energy to bilateral relations. We've also spoken of working together in futuristic sectors like 6G, AI, education, nuclear energy and more. We also discussed how to deepen linkages in climate change, circular economy, sustainable development and more. Ambassador Gauri Shankar Gupta, former diplomat, is with us on the broadcast. Ambassador Gupta, what do you make of Prime Minister Modi's first statement after meeting with the PM of Finland during this very crucial visit to Europe?
Good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon to Major General Sudhakarji also. You see, this is the third summit between India and the Nordic countries. 2018, 2022 and now 2026, every 4 years. And this summit is extremely important. Though these are small countries in terms of population, they have, they are very advanced in technology. They are very good in green energy. They are extremely good in global diplomatic reach. And they are also very good in terms of energy. You see, Norway is endowed with a lot of crude and gas. They have great shipbuilding industry. So is Sweden. Sweden also has a lot of, defense industry. We remember that we imported Bofors guns from there. They have Gripen aircraft. The Saab SAAB is a very, advanced defense industry corporation. They also have many more. In fact, Anderson and the car industry is very well developed. So these are the countries which are comparatively small but very well endowed, both in terms of resources, also in terms of technology and also in terms of diplomatic reach. Their impact on diplomatic, Oslo has played important role in so many issues. Also the environmental issues. It was the Prime Minister of Oslo who actually presided over the first UN meeting that took place in 1988, I think, or 86. After that, the first Earth Summit took place in Rio in 1992. So they are very deeply involved in all these issues. And therefore, our engagement with Nordic countries is very useful for us. In terms of defense technology, in terms of green energy, in terms of traditional energy resources, in terms of shipbuilding, and also in terms of environmental, preservation and sustainable development.
Yes,
so
let's just talk in particular about India, Finland, please. Also, Ambassador Gupta, before we move on to more breaking news, a quick comment from you on India, Finland in particular, because that's what we are focusing on right now.
Minister was in Delhi just a few weeks ago for the AI summit. And that time he praised India and he said that India is very well endowed with the manpower which can actually develop AI. So AI is one area where we can, we can collaborate very well. Then also they have relaxed visa rules for India. And the Indian engineers and Indian technicians can go there and work and settle down. That has also been allowed. And therefore, Finland is has long border with Russia, and therefore it is very important country in terms of strategic location, and they also have reached to the Arctic, and therefore I think our relations with Finland are going to be very, very useful for us.
All right, more breaking news, in fact, also coming in now. Prime Minister Modi has met with the Prime Minister of Denmark as well, Mette Frederiksen, in Oslo on the sidelines of the third India-Nordic Summit. After the meeting, PM Modi wrote on X, had a fruitful meeting with Mette Frederiksen in Oslo. The friendship between India and Denmark has made remarkable progress in recent years. Cooperation has expanded within sectors such as water resources, clean energy, shipping and food processing. The coming years could bring similar collaboration within the fintech space, industry, defense, innovation and more. I also invited Danish pension funds to increase their investments in India. We are both very convinced that the free trade agreement between India and the EU will have great significance for our economies. Major General Sudhakarji, defense expert, is with us live. Major General Sudhakarji, key meeting between the Indian and Danish Prime Ministers also taking place there on the sidelines of this summit. What do you make of the first statement that has come in on X by PM Modi after this meeting with Denmark's Prime Minister?
Well, Uday, good evening. Thank you for inviting me for this very important show, and my warm greetings to the ambassador, very distinguished co-panelists. Overall, I would say this is a landmark meeting which is taking place, and anything to do with the North Europe has got very significant meaning and bearing in the backdrop of the ongoing signatures, the emerging signatures of transatlantic relationship fracturing and ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine and its resultant impact. It is to be seen from the paradigm of two countries from the Nordic countries, that is Finland and Sweden, having joined NATO. The security architecture is changing, and also the importance of Arctic, that is to be seen. As far as Denmark, your question in particular is concerned, we have lots of areas of interest. We are all aware of the fact how pressure has been built, because Denmark presently is actually the chair of Arctic Council, and they have come under, been subjected to huge amount of pressure with regard to entry and penetration of USA into Greenland. That's a demand which is unfulfilled at the moment. There was a backlash also on the same. So because of the changing dynamics in the security architecture and the imperatives along the Arctic corridor and towards Greenland, India has a role by virtue of its being an observer in the Arctic Council. There are 8 members, permanent members. India happens to be an observer in the Arctic Council since 2013, and that is how the Denmark and India, they have a very important role, because India also has to go deeper into it, because we have a role and responsibility towards the Arctic. We have a base, it's known as Himadri, and we have India Arc also located in the landmass of island territory of Norway. It has been there since 2013, and we have been developing our ecosystem for carrying out underwater research, as also studying the melting of ice along that particular corridor, which has got indirect impact on the water level in Indian Ocean region. How is it impacting the coastal region? And more than that, as far as Denmark is concerned, we have a lot to do as far as the artificial intelligence, as far as the blue economy is concerned, as far as the research and technology that we are talking of, and the circular economy, which means that with the minimum wastage, how the wastage is being recycled into the way of life of the human being, thereby reducing the pollution, also reduction in the cost effect, and also making sure that there is an ecological balance, and also Denmark has got an important say in the climate change. So these are the 5 countries which have got a final say. But last but not the least, Uday,
Yes.
if you allow me,
Yes.
In the Nordic countries, there are 2 countries which are of vital importance. One is the Norway, the other is the Iceland. They being the member of the EFTA countries that we have already signed an agreement.
Absolutely.
They have made a commitment. They have made a commitment to flow in something close to or more than 100
In fact, let's talk about one of those countries. Let's talk about one of those countries. That's our next piece of information also coming in now on the broadcast. After meeting with Prime Minister Kristrún Frostadóttir, Prime Minister Modi has said India deeply values the friendship with Iceland, adding had a wonderful meeting with Prime Minister Kristrún Frostadóttir of Iceland. India deeply values the friendship with Iceland is what Prime Minister Modi has posted on his X account. Ambassador Gupta, an important friendship with Iceland is what Prime Minister Modi has emphasized on his official social media after this key meeting with the PM of Iceland. How important are India-Iceland ties at this juncture, as Major General Sudhakarji was also just referring to a few seconds ago?
You see, Iceland is a large country but very small population, and it has tremendous natural resources which have not been exploited. It also has tremendous amount of energy and gas, and it is right connected to the Arctic, and therefore Iceland has its very strategic importance. In fact, it's as important as Greenland, on which the US wants to control. So Iceland is, in fact, in terms of Arctic strategy, it is the most important country amongst the Nordic countries. Though its population is very small and our trade relations could be very limited, but in terms of strategic reach, in terms of natural resources, particularly gas resources, they are extremely useful for us. And also it is good for our soldiers to stay there and train themselves, to stay in cold climatic conditions. Like, we had to fight war sometimes in high altitudes in Himalayas. And that kind of climatic conditions do exist in Iceland, where our soldiers can stay and take some sort of training and then come back and fight the war in higher altitudes. So there the advantage is that they don't have to be on high altitude, but at the same time the climatic conditions would be similar to that. So these are some of the advantages with Iceland, and they are very friendly people. I have met some of those people during my diplomatic career. They have a lot of respect for India, and I am happy that PM met the Prime Minister of Iceland and had a very good meeting. I'm sure this will boost our relations and strategic ties, as well as collaboration in exploiting natural resources in that large country.
Yes, in fact, more updates as well now that we're tracking on the broadcast. Prime Minister Modi has participated in the third India-Nordic Summit in Oslo, which he says reflected the growing depth and dynamism of India's partnership with the Nordic region. Our discussions focused on several aspects, including sustainability, innovation, clean energy, emerging technologies, and strengthening cooperation for a peaceful and prosperous future. India and the Nordic countries are united by shared democratic values, trust, and a common commitment towards human-centric development, quote unquote. Major General Sudhakarji, of course, Prime Minister Modi speaking about his experience there at the India-Nordic Summit. But how crucial is this meeting at this juncture? A. And B, Major General Sudhakarji, what is the most important aspect of our ties with the Nordic countries? Is it sustainability according to you? Is it defense? Is it technology or something else?
Yeah, two parts. Firstly, how important. I think in the changing global order, the only thing which is holding out as far as the global stability and some kind of a progressive growth is actually the Northern Europe, to my assessment. Rest of the world, I think, is going through a huge geopolitical churn. This is the portion which is keeping it cool, keeping it balanced, and look at their economy. In fact, let me also share with your viewers that these 5 countries, despite their smallness and small in population, they post the higher per capita income, higher than any of the European Union countries. That is a miracle that needs to be studied by India. So it is very, very important as far as the geopolitics is concerned. Secondly, it is very, very important with regard to the changing dynamics of the geopolitical architecture. When I talk about architecture, although at the cost of reputation, the transatlantic relationship based on which the global apex organizations are existing today, the Nordic countries, they have a major say. Whether it is United Nations or Security Council, United Nations General Assembly, the World Bank, IMF, or you talk about International Court of Justice or any other organization, it is existing under the